So you've decided to build a dinosaur. Welcome back to Dave's Post-Apocalyptic World, Season 2. I'm Dave, and you may remember me from such films as How to Build a Rooftop Pool, or How to Lock Up in an Abandoned Building, or How to Prep for 6 months worth of food, or How to Replace Your iPhone battery, or How to Pick the Best Vacuum Robot, or How to Be a Mad Scientist. But today we're going to start making a full-size replica of this T-Rex replica. The inspiration came when watching a dinosaur documentary, and I wondered if it'd be possible to build a life-size dinosaur skeleton replica with just a home 3D printer. I looked online and there are many examples of 3D printed dinosaurs, but never a full-scale one. So I bought my first 3D printer and quickly found out that it would take years and years and endless material to build a full-size T-Rex skeleton. This sample, for example, took 6 hours, and it's just an empty shell. It's very nice, very precise, but it's just an empty shell, very light, and about 6 hours. So if I think of this in full scale, that would just take forever, so that's off the table. So then I thought maybe we can just build like a wireframe mesh of it and save a lot of time and material and cover that with paper mache or some plaster or something. So here's what I've come up with so far. These are 3D printed mesh frames covered with either plaster or some kind of a molding compound. And each one of these is a vertebra from the tail. And so you can see here on the dinosaur, we would start like on the tail here. This would be like this little piece. And then moving up a few, then we have this one over here. And, you know, I've tried a lot of different things, and so far, it looks like a good way to go. And even if it doesn't work out, and I have to abandon the project, you know, I'll still have some nice dinosaur bones and a tail section. Hey! No, kitty! So let's bring these out, see what we have maybe. So now I'm going to kind of take you through how I made these. And the first thing we need is the information that the 3D printer is going to receive in order to make each individual bone. So for this, I'm going to turn over to the computer over here and kind of show you how that was done. So we go to this website called Thingiverse and type in T-Rex skeleton. And here we find one by Joe F.A., a very nice one. So Thingiverse, you can get a lot of free 3D printed files. In this case, a dinosaur. Here's our tail, and later on hopefully we'll get to these parts. So these bones are not each in their own individual file, so we're going to use a different program to edit that. So then we download it. Here we've opened up Fusion 360, and we can now manipulate the file. So the trick now is going to be to kind of edit and cut each part that we need. These are all the parts you already saw on the desk, and then I'll be using a few editing techniques. Here we're going to cut our next section from the main section. So what's neat about this program is that it's free. It's going to take a lot of time to learn and to edit all your files, but again, as far as an arts and crafts value, this is a great project. Here we're cutting what I call a fin from our section of bones, and then separate it and name it. So here it looks like it's fin number 10. So the hard part now is going to be to separate these two pieces. As you can see, they're very irregular, so we use our selection tool. And this could take a little while, like maybe 15 minutes. So we'll speed it up. And we can even use a function called row so that we don't have to do everything individually. So what's neat is that it does not have to be perfect, because our bones, remember, have been sitting in the ground for about 65 million years. So they give us a lot of latitude. Here we separated the two pieces, and we'll trim it up a little bit and kind of separate them and fill them afterwards so that we have a whole structure. We then save them so that we can load them up in our 3D printing software. Here we have Ultimaker Cura, and we pick the file we want. We can now manipulate it, select it, pick the face that we want down on the platform, then we'll go to settings. So we want the wire setting, and as we're going to see, that only takes 3.5 hours, but if we were going to try to print it regularly, it would take over a day and 13 hours conventionally. So we really like the wire printing. It saves a lot of material and time. So the only other settings important to us are here we have the nozzle diameter at 0.6. And so basically these are the feeds and speeds. 250 means that that's the throughput we want from a 0.6 diameter nozzle. The machines came with a 0.4 millimeter nozzle, and at that point we would be at 100%. That's kind of an advanced thing, but I do still experiment with different feeds and speeds. So that's what that is. This is the other piece you saw. It's a little bit bigger, and it looks like it's going to take over 5 hours, and it's kind of rough looking, but again, our bones have been sitting around a long time, so we can play around with that a little bit. It would take 2 days to print conventionally. And since we like to print 4 pieces at a time, basically you rinse and repeat with the next section that you already saw. Let's move on to the next step. So each 3D printer gets its own little disk and little file. So it's really a lot more efficient to do more than one printer at a time. As you can see, I can operate a few of them at the same time. Here we're returning the motors to the home position before we calibrate each one. Now that may look and sound a little complicated, but it gets easy after a while. The idea is that the motor needs to be just the right distance from the printing platform, and so if it was too close, it would stick to the platform too much or not print at all, and if it's too far, then it wouldn't stick enough. So here we have our 3D printed dinosaur bone parts. Sorry, kitty. Don't mean to be in your way. And as you saw, the 3D printer acted like a computerized and controlled hot glue gun that would deposit its filament and then harden behind it and create a structure. And then it would build on itself. So now we've got these structures, and while going horizontally, it's a one-piece filament. Sometimes when it connects one layer to the next, it isn't so strong. So we're gonna have to beef it up, and also we're gonna need to connect our pieces to make one dinosaur bone. So for this, I tried a bunch of different glues, some Gorilla Glue, some super glue, wood glue, Elmer's glue, all the glues. And what I found to work best is this little magical tool. This is a 3D printing pen, and it works much like our hot glue gun and our 3D printer, but we can hold it in our hand. It uses the same filament material as the 3D printer, so in theory we should be able to reinforce or beef up our existing structures as well as combining them into one structure. So let's see how this works. So here we have our reinforced and joined dinosaur vertebra. And another thing I wanted to point out is that this is very inexpensive actually. When you go to print your design on your 3D printer, the program tells you how much material it's going to use. And in this case, this costs about 50 cents to $1 in material. So I think it's a very good and viable arts and crafts medium. On to the covering part. So here we're going to use some ultra lightweight joint compound, and we're going to mix it up with some water to thin it down so we can put it in our joint compound spray gun. And it's actually a lot of fun, so we'll sit back and enjoy the show. So here is our finished T-Rex bone skeletons that you've seen built from scratch. And it took about a day to dry, depending on your temperature. And it's basically sheetrock material, so it takes about a day, and it's very inexpensive, and it gives you structure, but it's not super strong. So it's a good arts and crafts solution, I think. And so next time on Dave's Post-Apocalyptic World, we're going to start building the head of our T-Rex. It's going to be about 5 feet long, and also we're going to start building the armature, a steel armature that's going to hold all of our bones together like this. And I'm not sure how we're going to do that yet, but it's going to be a great adventure. So if you'll join me next time on Dave's Post-Apocalyptic World.